there's two factors at work here. One is a satanic agenda of geoengineering and imposing synthetic molecules through geoengineering into the entire planetary field. So that's synthetic molecules raining down from jet grade fuel exhaust emissions on millions of aircraft constantly streaming across the sky. The gump fuel and petrochemical derivatives that fire up our ocean liners and cargo ships, and of which, again, there are millions of boats out there, and they're pumping those same synthetic molecules, the detritus, into the oceans. And of course, the glyphosates and the infusion of synthetic molecules through the plastics industry, through our food, because food is plastic in that sense. All the synthetic preservatives and what have you are extensions of plastification. And so that derangement syndrome that is rolling around the earth at every air, water, soil, and of course impregnating all biological systems, that's the kingdom of the devil. And that's what we're seeking to extricate ourselves from in these new jurisdictions. But as far as weather modification is concerned, that is a satanic or a Saturnian agenda, which we all variously know about here, so I don't need to labor the point. But the other factor, which is far more important to recognize, and that's a 100-year trajectory from the Rockefeller covenant, and that was the oil and gas, petrochemical, agrochemical scenario, which is connected into, as I said, to the 1937 Marijuana Tax Act, outlawing marijuana and the hemp industries, which would have destroyed the plastics industries overnight, and all the derivatives. So that just under 100 years is really the arc we're talking about. And that's the Khazarian mafia, petrodollar, oil and gas, war economy, blood economy that we're looking at. But the other side of the equation, which in a sense is far more important and far more relevant for us, is to consider the morphogenetic upshift that is a biological, physiological, geological, astrological, astrophysical phenomenon. So that's happening at the galactic level. It's happening at the level of our solar system, and the entire planetary field of expression is undergoing that morphogenetic upshift, with or without devils tap dancing on the checkerboard, with or without bad actors playing politics and playing into blood economy, with or without ritual Satanists in the basement gargling adrenochrome. None of that matters. The morphogenetic upshift is connected to the geometry of God, the geometry of revelation, and that is connected to the geometry of light that is infusing our solar system and our galaxy right now at the point at which we are. And I've spoken to this many, many times, is that emergence from the galactic sleep cycle through the ecliptic up into the age of Aquarius, and we peaked in now to the age of the Aquarius, and that takes us into a semi-arc which is known as the galactic day. But that galactic day cycle is also now negated, in as much as it's moving into a quantum, which is beyond night and day. It's beyond polarity and any kind of binary idea of physics or astrology or astronomy. We're now moving into a quantum. It's a spiral. So we move from Fibonacci golden mean ratios into the crystal spiral dynamic ratios. That's scalar, that's torsion, that's fractal. So understand what torsion mechanics are, what fractality is, and we'll get close to understanding the extraordinary upshift that's about to occur. That does not depend on what comes out of Davos World Economic Forum. That does not depend on what comes out of the gibbering bullshit coming out of the College of Cardinals in Rome, or of the Privy Council with the Crown of England. So none of those old mechanical portals of power have a say in morphogenesis or regenesis. That's to do with God's geometry, and you and I, good humans like us, who are variously leaning in to this emergence with consciousness in action, putting all of our currency into this beautiful pioneering dream, collective dreaming, to the best of our ability. We carry God's grace, and we'll be the ones determining, our imaginations will be determining the outcome, not the Vatican cloisters again, or the United Nations Security Council, and so on and so forth. So the challenge for all of us is to really begin to understand that the more that we participate in and play into the bad geometry of bad spells and bonds and syntax and lies and deceptions and manipulations of the old order, we are simply allowing the pain to continue. We're allowing that tooth to be pulled out very, very, very slowly. And as anyone who has any wisdom in this world knows, pulling a tooth out very, very slowly is about as stupid a move as you can make. You want it to be a real quick yank. So that to me describes pretty much where we're at. But the geoengineering piece is totemistic of the old order. It has no real ramification or repercussion beyond now. So I'm looking out there, and I'm seeing the most blissful and beautiful climate. Okay, granted, I'm in Bacala Laguna on the Mayan Riviera in Mexico, but what is visiting America right now? What is the storm, the great storm, the epochal historical storm event that's moving in? Is it geoengineering? Almost certainly. It's a confluence of geoengineering, which only incidentally gains traction when the frequency field of the human population are commensurate with that frequency. So the devil cannot dance in your ballroom unless he's got a ticket, and you're the one who grants the ticket. The way we dream, the way we put our attention into false narratives and buy into time is money, scarcity, fear, all of that stuff, the more we put ourselves there as the arbiter of reality, we are the ones welcoming the storm of chaos. And so what you're seeing in America is simply a typical cyclical storm of chaos. But the Balinese priesthoods would look to that event, impending event, as being a profoundly magical and a cleansing event, as indeed it is. To anyone who's anchored in pure truth and right action, you'll foundationally, storms will steer themselves around you and around your home. You know, that's what bioresonance means. That's what bioarchitecture means. But I'll leave it at that, just to say, when we raise the question of geoengineering, is it something being done from the Babylonian basement? Of course it is, but it only has traction because we are granting permission and receiving that frequency set. So that's what we should be looking at when we ask a question like that. Why are we situating ourselves still in toxic city grids? Why are we participating in the Babylonian helter-skelter? Why are we continuing to fill the forms out with block black capital letters? Why are we continuing to take the knee and render coin to Caesar? I know it's annoying when I keep saying things like this. It sounds almost patronizing, but that is the answer to the question. Geoengineering is not the issue, never was.